Brighten up those dark mornings. Wheeler, Ollie, and Lecter. Mornings at the Cabin.
Good morning. Welcome to Mornings at the Cabin with Wheeler and Ollie. Today we're going to be talking about fine knit scarves and what they mean for your winter months. But first, is cinnamon really the greatest flavor ever? We'll talk about that as well. I love cinnamon buns. I love the smell of fresh baked bread when I walk into a room. And if it's got a little cinnamon in it, it just makes it that much better. But also, we'll talk about how Ollie is starting to moisturize with coconut oil. Ollie?
I love walking into this little mirror universe.
This is a nice little universe. This is Bizarro Jesse universe, where he's calm, collected, and talks about nice things.
Honestly, it's so relaxing.
Is it
I
nice?
can feel the tension drifting out of my soul.
Yeah.
It's because it might have been the coconut oil.
Yeah, it is the
Now that I
coconut
think
oil.
about
That stuff, I swear by that stuff, and I slather it all over my body. Now we're getting back into Jesse world. All over my bodice. Yeah, it was nice for a second.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's all right. We're back now. What do we got on the show?
Okay, well, we're going to talk about a little. We're going to talk about that Fire Festival, that whole big con job that happened last year. There's a couple documentaries out about it. One on Netflix. There's also another Netflix show called Tidying Up, which everybody's going crazy over. I'm seeing everybody on my Facebook page feed just talk about how they have simplified their lives and gotten rid of a bunch of crap. We'll talk about Walk to Tuck and how, like, a good portion of the territory is actually doing it. And the pop tax, because we all know taxes curb consumption.
I knew I chose Diet Coke for a reason.
Well, that would still be...
No, it wouldn't.
Yes, it would.
Doesn't have sugar in it.
Aspartame.
Doesn't count. Under
That's a
the law.
sweetener?
If you read
it doesn't count?
It doesn't count.
But it's the worst one.
We'll tell you more.
Mornings at the Cabin, the podcast.
Wheeler and Ollie with you on your Thursday morning. Scott is taking a little bit of a nap this morning. Had a late night. It's okay, bud. We do this every once in a while. We each take maybe a day, a morning out of the week and say, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm sleeping in for an extra hour.
A day, a morning, 6 months.
Yeah, day, morning, 6 months, 3 weeks, whatever. Another 2 weeks, another week, another 10 days at a wedding, whatever.
Yeah. We have
however much time you need off, Scotty.
We have a relaxed approach to the employment standards that many radio stations would uphold.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you'd like to join our team, we are always looking for volunteers.
If you'd like to join our team, it's just sort of like every third Wednesday for
just show up.
half an hour. Yeah, just come on in, occupy a chair. That's all we ask.
Yeah, just keep something warm, for goodness sake. That's all we're trying to do here. I saw this on my Facebook feed. I love this. I saw it when I got up this morning and I was doing my morning routine, and it was an advertisement from. It looks like it's from. It's like a screen grab. It looks like it's from Craigslist. And it was an advertisement for a driver, $25, Red Oak, Texas. Might as well be Olds, Alberta. And it says, screw Uber. It's Friday night. Don't drink and drive. Message me, and I'll come get you in my 2000 Ford F-250 4x4 with a case of beer in the cooler in the back, blasting Skinnerd on the speakers, and I'll holler, hell yeah, brother, at everything you say. Yes, I would definitely take that deal every night. I wouldn't even need to be drinking to take that deal. I'd be like, that guy's going to pick us up, and there's going to be a couple of beers.
I just need to get the life change.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that you could just drop me
Yeah,
off?
I just need to get the life change.
Yeah.
I'll have a couple of beers, and I'll get into it.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Yeah, I really love that. And that could absolutely be in Alberta. And I was wondering if you could do something like that here, but like without a license, like not without a driver's license, obviously, but without like a chauffeur's license.
I'm sure there are people doing that here without a driver's license.
Of course.
You mean legally?
Legally, yes.
As far as I know, there is someone in Fort Smith who operates a local, totally unlicensed, as far as I'm aware, cab service, whereby you just have to know him.
Yeah.
And you call him
just
up.
Give him a call.
And you're like, hey, is there any chance? And he'll pop round. Which, as far as I'm aware, with the local cab companies, is not flavor of the month.
No, I bet not.
So, I mean, that's as far as I know. I haven't ever used said service, but I do think Smith has. I don't know that it's a souped up 2000 F-250 with
big old tires on
in the
it,
back.
Too.
Yeah.
It's a regular.
Oh, so there's a photo of the truck.
Yeah. He's right here. It's like a
just
dark
to seal
green.
the deal.
Yeah, beautiful. He's got his cowboy hat on. He's just leaning out the window. He's like, "Yep." I love it. I love it. And I mean, like, well, okay, but this, I mean, I'm sure the cabs don't love that. especially in Smith.
Well, it'd be like, imagine being a radio station, one with an FM license that's already operational, and then someone just comes along and starts running a radio station without even getting a license.
Can
you imagine how, the nerve, the gall that those people would have to have?
The unmitigated gall.
Yeah.
Of people like that.
I mean, you'd just be outraged.
They said without a sense of ironing. Yeah, that would be very cool. But I've seen this after Christmas parties where people just people in the office volunteer and they get 3 or 4 cars and they just ferry people back and forth. And I mean, there's don't drink and drive programs in major cities where they do that as well. And they're not licensed per se because they actually have just volunteers. So maybe the outfit is licensed, but then they're allowed to just bring in whoever to volunteer for it.
Yeah, well, presumably that's like the MAD and SAD programs up here as well.
That's
just people who want to help out. And as far as I know, you don't have to go through too many hoops for that to happen.
And if you could just scream, hell yeah, brother, at everything I say, no matter how asinine, that'd be great.
We'll post a photo of the truck we'd like you to turn up in when we're drunk, and that's how we'd like to get home.
Cabin Radio's Morning Show Podcast. All the best chat, none of the embarrassing mistakes.
Why have you changed the group chat emoji to an eggplant?
I was just toying with some things. Is an eggplant symbolic or something? I don't know.
Symbolic of people who can't say aubergine.
Aubergine. Well, aubergine does sound nicer. I'll give you that.
Doesn't it? Eggplant just sounds like I don't want to.
Do you know why it's called an eggplant?
Because it poops out eggs?
Yes, because it poops out eggs. No, because when they first start to grow, either when they first start to grow or how they used to look before we started meddling with them, they look like eggs. They look like little eggs on a plant.
Yeah, you see, that's just weird.
Yeah, I know. But that's how you make baba ganoush, baby. You can't make some baba ganoush without breaking some eggplants.
That's the same.
Boom! I am on fire this morning. Speaking of Fire Festival. A couple of documentaries out right now. One on Netflix, one on Hulu. They're competing. The one on Netflix has been advertised for quite some time, and then Hulu was just like, oh, by the way, here's ours 3 days before yours drops. Boom. And basically, if you don't know anything about the Fire Festival, it was a festival in the Bahamas that was sold as like this epic, huge party. Ja Rule was involved. And if Ja Rule's involved, I need to know what's going on. I need to know what Ja Rule is up to at all times. But it was a high price. It was sold as a luxury music and art festival, basically. And it was in the Bahamas on this island. And when people turned up, they paid their money. They turned up, and nothing at all was organized. It turned into a huge con.
That's not quite true. They had cheese sandwiches.
And that was the thing that took it all down, was someone posted a picture on Instagram of what they were given to eat. And it was 2 pieces of dry bread, a piece of like spring mixed green, a tomato, and a piece of cheese. And they were like, this is what we signed up for? And after that, all the stories came out. And it was such a scam that the organizer has now been sent to prison. And Ja Rule is pleading his case that, like, I was lied to as well, trying to avoid any kind of fraud charge, I would imagine.
Moral of the story: don't try to do nice things for people.
That's right. Don't try to hold a festival in the middle of the Bahamas for $10,000 a ticket or however much it costs. But like, it must have been scary for a lot of people to get there and realize that nothing was organized. There was barely any water, barely any food, no accommodations.
I love that they were able to order the flight. Yeah, they organized the flights to get everyone in. Yeah. They got that bit done. But then, like,
everything after that was completely disorganized.
I have to say, I always have a lot of respect for the people who organize festivals in Yellowknife, in the Northwest Territory.
Absolutely.
Because, it is a risk.
Totally.
It is. When you have hundreds, thousands of people turning up to these things, getting it right and making sure like the provisions are okay, there is enough for people to eat and drink, there are warm spaces. Like Long John Jamboree, like relatively easy to get someone in quite some trouble at the Long John Jamboree in a festival outdoors on a frozen lake in minus 35.
And we saw it last year when the wind took out an entire day of the Jamboree. And you can't control that. Just like Folk on the Rocks, they are, at the mercy of nature. What if it just decides to rain all weekend? Last summer with Folk on the Rocks, it was the only weekend, I think, all summer that it didn't rain. And it even rained a little bit, but it didn't rain that much.
And to be clear, I'm not equating those organizers with the ones at the Fire Festival who sound like complete idiots from everything I've read.
Well, they're just con artists.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
Exactly. But I do always feel like festival organizers here
Yeah.
are being brave in putting that stuff together and shouldering that responsibility. Because we're also quite a demanding crowd. Like, the Yellow Life crowd has been known to, like, hold what would anywhere else in Canada be a very small anonymous town to an incredibly high standard of execution and everything.
And that's part of what makes those festivals so good is that people know that they have to bring it every time. And and I think we hold to a high standard because why not? We have the talent here. Why not hold everybody to a higher standard?
Speaking of all of this, we should hopefully find out in the next week or so if we're gonna have a Long John Jamboree this year.
I know. Because I can't believe we don't know yet.
Well, you mentioned the weather last year. Like they have been really struggling.
Absolutely.
Since then, and we did a catch up about a month ago. They said, hey, by the end of January we should know.
Okay.
And so with a bit of luck, fingers crossed, touch wood, etc., we'll actually have a Jamboree. Snow King looks in good health, which is good. That should be a good festival there.
For sure.
Hopefully we get a Jamboree as well. Hopefully we get a cabin winter games in there somewhere.
And I imagine the Snow King Winter Festival is going to be there. So you can show up and it'll be there. Because they said it's there. It'll be there. And I imagine Jamboree won't do that either. Come on down. Everything's going to be great. And you get down there and nothing's there. That would be... I don't think that's going to happen.
No. Snow 1, fire 0.
Want the meat and potatoes of the morning show with none of the filler? You've got it with the Mornings at the Cabin podcast. That's a strange breakfast, though.
On cabinradio.ca, you can find this story, and this has been making the rounds on Facebook as well. A lot of people, a lot of opinions about this one. Will a pop tax make the NWT a healthier place? No, it won't.
Good. Well, we're glad we solved that.
Let's back to the
cabin.
All right. I mean, no. I mean, will it curb consumption? No. It'll just make vulnerable people who depend on cheaper sources of food that much more broke.
However,
wouldn't
you know it? I have a contrary opinion.
I imagine you do.
It's not quite a contrary opinion, but if you look at this from a different way, the UK has done something similar.
Yes.
In terms of increasing the tax on sugar in drinks.
And that is a very healthy country right now.
And the way that it changed consumption was that the manufacturers lowered the sugar in their drinks in order to get around the tax.
Oh, interesting.
And hence, nobody ended up really paying anymore.
Yes.
Because the price didn't change because the sugar came down rather than the price going up.
There you go.
So it actually did help people consume things that were slightly healthier.
Yes.
Even though they didn't modify their behavior, the manufacturers modified theirs.
So were those local bottlers or were those like big corporations like Pepsi, Coke, and things like that?
It would have been everybody because the tax would have applied across the board.
No, of course. Yeah. So but are they only lowering their sugar content for bottles going to the UK?
Probably.
Okay.
Because like the formulation of Coke in the UK is different to France, is different to the US, is different to Canada.
That's a very odd thing that they're all different like this.
Yeah. Like sugar content's different, things like that. Different sweeteners are used in different parts of the world. It's actually kind of interesting to go to. Like it you could always tell when you went to like continental Europe from the UK.
Yeah.
Because the Coke would taste different, which sounds ridiculous, but it does.
Is it sweetened with cane sugar in the UK and Europe as opposed to high fructose corn syrup over here?
You're testing my knowledge.
Okay.
I don't know. But the point being that's how the manufacturers got around it. Now, it's unlikely that the major beverage distributors are going to make a Northwest Territory specific version of, say, Coke or Pepsi.
Yes.
As amazing as that would be. Mm-hmm. And I then think we'd all just drink more of it because we think it was special. So that would defeat the entire object. But it does mean that that's probably not going to be the case here. So it's a difficult one. I've seen people make the case that in the UK that's what they did.
Yeah.
But it's unlikely that those manufacturers will do that for the NWT, so it probably won't have that effect here.
Okay. Wonderful. I'm glad it won't have any effect. But I mean, the outlying argument is that, tax will curb consumption, but we know that doesn't work because the taxes on booze doesn't curb.
Tax does at least get the government more money to treat the effects of your consumption.
Possibly, if that's what they're going to use it for. Possibly, but I mean,
two thirds of all the money the Northwest Territories has goes on health.
Oh, I know. I know, absolutely. But I mean, some of those health problems are exacerbated by the consumption of alcohol and sugary drinks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if those tax benefits are going to be used for that, like, say, paying for people's dental bills because their teeth are rotting, or pay for people's type 2 for diabetes medicine, for insulin, things like this, I suppose.
I mean, like, hospital treatment for people with diabetes is paid for by the government.
Of course. No, I know this.
Like that. So, yeah. Like,
but but dental bills are not.
I to be honest, I don't really know how dental bills are covered in the Northwest Territories for everybody.
Covered by work. There are subsidies for people who can't afford it, obviously, but for people who don't have people who don't have those benefits and aren't covered by subsidies, then I suppose that's what it should go towards. This, I mean, a lot of people just characterizing this as just a cash grab, because we drink a ton of pop in the territory, and to tax it makes sense. Right, from a financial standpoint, it's like, oh, we're doing a lot of this. Let's tax it a little bit more, and we'll get a bit more money, and that makes sense. But we're not really attacking the root cause of these things, which is food that's way too expensive, and like buying a 12 pack of pop is cheaper than buying 24 bottles of water.
So, as a government, look at your options.
Yes.
Your options to deal with this are
cut off the pop supply.
Number one, a tax.
Yeah.
Number two, cut off the pop supply.
Yeah.
Pass some legislation
Absolutely.
that says you can't sell pop in the Northwest Territories
and
anymore.
that would be obviously a lot worse.
And you'd be voted out.
Yeah.
Right? That'd be the end of you as a government.
Yeah.
So you'd just be voted out because people would be like, you can't do that.
That's right.
So that'd be the end of that. So what are your other options?
You're right. I don't know.
And then one of them is augmented reality ad campaigns, right? But then when you launch those...
But those are disrespectful of literally everything, anything, everywhere. So.
Everybody points at those and says, oh, those are ridiculous. So, all right, not augmented reality ad campaign. You can see the problem,
right?
Of
course.
Is that
it's a no-win situation, especially when you're spending taxpayer money or taking more money from the taxpayer than you were before. Obviously, it's a no-win situation.
It's like the Tolton announcement yesterday, where they announced the first little bit of money. It's a tiny bit of money, but it's only designed to be spent in February, March. Then they're going to come back and announce more, by the sounds of it. Immediately that was reported, people are there saying, oh, it's too little, too late. Oh, only now they're getting around to doing it. Oh, it's an election year. They're just trying to get your vote. like, either we want this or we don't.
Yeah.
And when you get it, you can't then say, oh, now you're going to, like, you could, like, just for once, just think to yourself, oh, great. It sounds like we're going to get that really nice big thing eventually that we've always wanted that's going to make power much cheaper for everybody. But no matter what you do...
Too late. I had a $400 bill last month.
No matter what you do as a government.
Yeah.
This is the problem with politics.
Democracy?
It's the problem with politics to the way that we have reduced it now, right?
Yeah.
Which is that everything is very polarized. The media has a big role to play in how that's worked, as do politicians.
Yep.
And
as do people who don't understand or
do
perhaps,
people. And we reach a point where we have a system where it doesn't matter what decision you take as a government.
That's right.
Someone is going to find grave fault with it and believe the worst.
Yes.
And it's very, very... I think that makes it difficult to govern. It makes it difficult to make unpopular decisions because every decision is unpopular. So you just kind of get afraid of taking big decisions.
Of course.
Because it's just not worth the hassle, frankly.
Right. Well, because, I mean, especially people in their 30s plus, because they've lived through years and years and years of government saying they're going to do something, either not doing it or doing it so poorly that it costs everybody money and nothing gets better. So when you have people who have been going through that for decades, they're going to be like, what do I care? I don't even vote anymore because of this and this and this and this. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens if this tax does get imposed. Is it being done, or we're still going through the motions?
They're consulting on it. So there's a survey you can actually go and fill out online. If you go to our website and read our story, there's a link to it. If you have strong feelings about this, you can go there, and there's a whole bunch of questions that will help you feed back to the government. I mean, what that'll entail in the end, I don't know, but you can go and fill out the survey at any rate. I just think it's an interesting little microcosm of how jaundiced government is in the 21st century. That something that on the face of it is like, these drinks are really bad for everyone, so we're going to try and do this, A, to help us pay for the effects, and B, to try and curb your consumption of them, is still like the initial reaction from everybody is how dare you.
Yeah.
And it's because people are very tired of governments trying to control them, but at the same time
want government
without that
want government control somewhere, because obviously we can't all be libertarians and just live in our own little countries called our homes.
Yeah. So it's a mess, but Diet Coke is not included in the tax.
See,
so
that
you're fine.
drives me nuts, because aspartame is one of the worst sweeteners you can put in your body.
Interestingly, there's not that much scientific evidence to say there's anything wrong with it.
It's the same evidence as MSG, which is terrible for you, which was based on a letter some woman wrote to somewhere.
Yeah, again, MSG, for about 10 years, everyone was saying, "Oh, don't use MSG. No, eat all foods with no MSG in them." Turns out MSG is actually not that bad.
I love MSG. Love it.
Yeah, so Diet Coke, because it is not a sugar sweetened drink, would not be part of this tax,
and neither with 100% fruit juices.
Correct.
Which there are very few 100% fruit juices out there. Well, yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing what happens. I look forward to hearing what's going to happen at these consultations. It's probably going to be a lot of anger, I would imagine, because it's not just because there's a raise in tax and that vulnerable people are going to feel the brunt of it most because they drink the most pop, apparently. It's the fact that like we're doing this, but not doing food security subsidies and things like that, or more of those.
So that is the problem. It's interesting that the first consultation is in Tuck.
Yes,
in a few days' time. The one time I have been to Tuck was for the celebration for the Inuit Tuck Highway opening, and they sort of had, like, in a corner of the celebration, the little youth night that happens in the rec center was happening at the same time, and the kids were all there, and they had their little stand out for all the kids to buy pop and candy, which is what is always up there.
Of course.
And the pop was like $1 each. It was cheaper than Yellowknife to get a can of your favorite pop.
Cheaper than water.
Because they're just stored in bulk up there, and it's not perishable. Yep. It's what people like to drink. It's not perishable. It's affordable. Yeah, frankly, a 5 cents per 100 milliliters increase on the price of a can of pop in Tuck is probably not really going to be felt compared to the price of buying a cauliflower.
Yep.
And that's the real problem.
Mornings at the Cabin, the podcast, where we cut out all the great music and you're left with the rest.
Tidying Up.
Yes.
This new Netflix show.
Crazy. Blowing up like crazy. It's Marie Kondo. It's on Netflix. It's called Tidying Up with Marie Kondo. And she is the creator of something called the KonMari method. She's an organizing consultant. Now that sounds like something that would seems like a very first world kind of vocation.
We have one in Yellowknife.
Do we really?
Alyssa Moshe.
Oh, really?
A-list consulting. And
my goodness.
And she will come around and organize your house.
Wow. I did not know that.
Send her an invoice of $25 after the show.
There it is.
But yeah,
I wonder how she feels about the show. I mean, maybe she's had an uptick in business.
You know what? That's a really interesting question. News story 6 hours later on the Cabin Radio.
Here we go.
This is how most of our news stories start.
Local entrepreneur sees uptick.
Yeah, sees uptick exclusive. Yeah, I'd be interested to know actually.
Yeah,
because she's been doing that for a couple of years. I remember seeing her. She was at the trade show in May last year, and we had a big chat. And things seem to be picking up for her. And,
very nice.
And yeah, I find it. I could totally understand why you might need her services. Not you personally. I'm talking like you.
You definitely could.
Equally, you personally.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting that it's taken a television show about tidying up for suddenly everyone to find tidying up to be a thing.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. It's been a thing, and that's why it's now a TV show, right? Yeah. So now it reaches that wider audience, but it's been a thing for quite some time. One of the biggest things about tidying up, and now I should admit that I have not watched this show. I've been meaning to watch it. It's been in my queue, blah, 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 and I keep on meaning to click on it, but I haven't yet.
I should admit I haven't tidied up. No,
my kitchen looks terrible.
So a couple of weeks ago, Sarah and I took out the recycling in my apartment. Now
months and months and months of it, I imagine.
More than a year. Because there's a little pantry with like a nice big gap at the bottom of it, a nice big storage area.
Oh yeah.
So for the first year I lived in that apartment, I was just like, well, that's where the recycling lives. So all the cans, all the plastic, all the cardboard just went in there.
Yeah.
Until it became like a gaping maw of recycling. and eventually we dug it all out and I throw it all in the truck and got rid of it in like minus 35 at 8 o'clock in the morning. And
aren't you so glad you had the truck?
Get out of here, you truck salesperson.
I am.
So anyway, it you know what? It did feel very, very good.
Yes, it does, and it always does. When you tidy up, it seems like such a gargantuan task, but once you do it, you're like, oh, this is nice, and things seem simpler. Because like, especially during the week, the kitchen tends to take a bit of a beating. We cook, we leave the plates out, we go to bed, we're barely there. So at the end of the week, you have to clean up, and it just like you look at it and you're like, this is an hour, this is 2 hours, or whatever. But once it's done, everything is calmer when things are tidy. That's just kind of the way it is. Like, a cluttered space means a cluttered mind and all that stuff. But like having things be tidy is calming. And I mean, I think that's the biggest thing behind the show is like tidying up, getting rid of things that don't serve you anymore. One of the episodes is actually called Sparking Joy After a Loss, right? What? Are you thinking about me?
No.
Getting rid of things that don't serve you?
I was imagining you getting rid of things that don't serve you, sparking joy after a loss. It sounded like you're going to go and shoot the dog.
Oh my God.
It's like, this sheepdog's kind of like stopped really being of use to me. Well, I'm just going to get rid of this thing, that doesn't serve me. And then, like, I don't know, just the way you said it, like, getting rid of things that don't serve you. Like, get the dog out the house. Dog's doing nothing. Look how much tinier it is already. There's no fur.
Not serve you physically or literally, like literally serve you something, but is like things that don't.
The windows aren't misted up anymore. They haven't got nose marks on them.
All right. Anyway, there is a lot of benefit to that. I spent my 20s traveling a lot. So I lived out of little Rubbermaid cases and my suitcases because I would live in hotel rooms and I would live in apartments while I was doing shows. So and those are very formative years. Like your formative years are considered, 12 through 18 or whatever, but like 22 through 26, also very formative. So for those years, for 5 years, I lived a lot in apartment to apartment to apartment, hotel room to hotel room while traveling. And so I lived in these little compartments. And what I did is I held onto those compartments for dear life for years. I still had when I moved in with Phoenix, I still had stuff that I had been carrying around for the last 10, 12 years. I just had like a box of stuff, cards, little gifties that I got after shows, things I couldn't part with for whatever reason. And now I have parted with them. I didn't throw them all out. Some things I did throw out, some things I donated. You keep a couple of things that are like, really important. But getting rid of those things actually made me feel lighter. If that makes sense. Yeah, and like getting, you know what I mean? And getting rid of stuff that doesn't serve you, as in, it's an ex of mine once said to me, and I hadn't heard this before from anybody, and maybe it's just me not being that well read, but she said, if you look in your closet and you find something that you haven't used in a year, get rid of it. If you haven't used it in a year, you're not going to use it. Get rid of it. Unless, of course, it's, an EpiPen. Keep that. Even if you haven't used it in a year. Keep it. Keep those things.
Well, check the expiry.
Yeah, check the expiry.
Okay.
That's a whole other conversation.
Before we wrap things up, a quick word on Walk to Tuck.
Yes, a tenth of the territory actually participating, 4,700 people. We have a team in there. We've been doing the life change. Life change for 45 minutes or an hour counts as about 5 kilometers, I think. I've been doing the walks with the dog as well. So, I mean, we're racking up the KMs pretty quick.
Yeah, we're doing all right. I think we had 88 kilometers in our first week or something, but I haven't added mine in. I don't know if you've sent yours.
I haven't sent mine in.
Right, so we've got a whole bunch to catch up on then.
Wonderful.
So there are 2 teams that have already done it. Like they've already done the 1,000. I
don't like them.
Go away.
I don't like them at all.
Well, I mean, you already have gone away very far, but
That's
continue
right.
going.
Yeah. No.
Continue going.
No, yeah. You've walked the tuck. Now stop.
Oh, I see. Just stay still.
Stay still. No more walking the tuck for you.
Thanks for listening. Check out more from the show at cabinradio.ca.